The UK may have closed the door on the European Union with its vote for Brexit, but the country's capital is determined to show that it's still open for business. London has launched a new campaign to try and reassure Europeans that it is the place to be. And one of the brains behind the scheme is a self-made entrepreneur. So this is your city now.
Isn't this one of the most beautiful cities in the world? It's extraordinary. Just fell in love with it.
An immigrant himself who came to London with just £200 in his pocket, Rajesh Agrawal is London's new Deputy Mayor for Business. He's only been in his new post 2 weeks, but already he's convinced that London will remain the world's financial powerhouse, even after Brexit.
There is a little bit of uncertainty, but at the same time we are fully confident that London has always been and will remain the best place to do business.
You're only a couple of weeks into the new role. What exactly do you think you're going to be able to accomplish at such a turbulent time? What are going to be your priorities here?
Well, the priorities are very clear. We need a seat on the table whenever we start renegotiating with Europe. That's number one. And once we start talking or renegotiations, we must have two things. One is access to the single market, and second is passporting.
Do you really think that passporting is something that the UK is going to be able to keep here during these Brexit negotiations?
Again, like I said, everything is up for negotiation, and I think we should be able to keep passporting, because passporting happens both ways. So it's not just the British firms who are operating in Europe, but a lot of European firms that actually operate in Britain as well. Just in London alone, we've got over 250 banks. London has got more headquarters of banks than any other city in the world. There are more US banks in London than there are in New York. So we are a big financial center, and banks from around the world and from Europe actually come and operate here. So the passporting has to work both ways.
What happens if the UK doesn't manage to maintain access to the single market? How would London be affected? Do you have contingency plans?
We've been talking about devolution. And London Finance Commission has talked about devolution, where London gets more autonomy, and we've been talking about it. So I think that is very important as well.
You're right to point this out. I think New York maintains 40% of the taxes that it collects, Tokyo 70% of the taxes that it collects. London doesn't have anywhere near that kind of autonomy. Do you think that during your tenure we're going to be able to achieve that?
There's been a strong case for it for a few years, but now there is a time, particularly post-referendum, I think it's become even more important that we do it sooner rather than later. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to achieve that quite soon. When you choose a place to do business, you don't just look at one thing. There's a whole package you look at. You look at the regulatory regime, you look at the tax regime, you look at the talent pool which is available, you look at the infrastructure, you look at language and all sorts of things. And all these points, on all these parameters, London scores extremely highly.
So would you still have been attracted to the UK if we were facing a Brexit, more than 10 years ago when you arrived here on these shores?
Yes, absolutely.